Straftat, one of my favorite games to play as of recently, is a free-to-play casual movement shooter based around 1v1s. It's fast-paced, doesn't really require commitment, and has a heavy emphasis placed on the movement part of movement shooter, with dozens of ways to maneuver around a map, be it wall jumping, sliding, or really whatever other wacky mechanics have been built into the game. The game is all around great in a lot of ways, with having some of my favorite movement within shooter games at the moment, and while that's great and all, there is at least one aspect of the game that players including me have noticed is lacking, at least outside of the first few hours of the game. That aspect being progression. And sure, there's the XP system, kinda gotta mention that, but that really only takes you so far with the Battle Pass-esque experience you're gonna get, giving players access to new maps and cosmetics in exchange for playing the game for a little bit. But as mentioned above, this is very short-lived, being completable in just a few hours, and afterwards, the system just cuts off entirely. The cutoff of the XP system leaves most veteran players without a sense of direction, and while some just embrace the casualness of the game and have fun, others look for something else to strive for. And this leads most players towards a little tab right next to the old XP progression system in the whole menu called the Stats board. In Stats, players can check their win rates, their KDs, and even shit as obscure as their time spent in air in rounds, but the main attraction of Stats is by far the leaderboards, showing a list of you and all your friends stacked in order from highest to lowest as they usually go, as well as your personal global leaderboard ranking, in which, while the overall leaderboard isn't available, still lets players get an idea of where they stack up with the rest of the world. This random number is the only thing people have progression-wise after the XP system cuts off, and while it isn't really much, it certainly is something. And a thing that comes with noticing this leaderboard is the question of how your rank is even determined. Well, the short answer is something called score, which is conveniently listed directly next to your name on the leaderboard, but that really just raises another question of how this score is even calculated. Like, is it some kind of skill-based matchmaking, where if your opponent is ranked higher, your gains are also multiplied? Is it just a flat system with no variation no matter what? Or is it something in between? Questions that leaderboard lurkers like myself ask all the time, and I will be trying to answer in this video.
What a manipulative, conniving dictator! What the f is wrong with him? Why would he manipulate you? Why would he do that? Did you give in? No!
So now that we've gotten to the main topic of the video, I'll be getting both into the data I've collected on this topic, as well as stuff I've just seen online that seems to be pretty accurate. So just to give some context into how I collect my data, every round where me and the guy who was helping me collect this data, who is called Unfunnyboy and will be linked in the description, were collected in games that went up to 12 rounds max and required 6 to win. And what we noticed during this process that every round in which a person won the game, meaning they got to 6 wins, they would get 10 score. And every time a game wasn't won by a person, their score would still increase, but only by the amount of rounds they won. So that gives the idea that each round won is equivalent to 1 point of score, and using my elite math skills, I've determined that winning a game counted for 4 extra points, as 6 plus 4 equals 10, and that would make up the point disparity between just winning 6 rounds and winning a game. This idea is also further backed up by a random user on the Steam forum, stating that the formula for score is games won times 4 plus rounds won. So in my example, winning 1 game, 6 rounds would equal 10. And to just break that down a little bit, first of all, the game, you win 1 game, and that is multiplied by 4, which is where you get 4 points to score. And then each round you won, in which the games I was playing had 6 rounds each, so it would be 6 plus 4 equals 10, and yeah, it checks out. So with that established, it seems pretty cut and dry that it's a game/round based system that's fairly easy to understand, but that was before I noticed there were some outliers in my data, and that kind of threw me for a loop just trying to figure out what happened. Now, these aren't really all that prominent, with me being able to chalk some up to just human error, like an insane game I jotted down where I somehow went up 50 points in 2 games. I'm just gonna say I probably got that wrong. But some of these I've actually caught on camera that they're not adhering to the general formula, and I really couldn't figure out why this was happening. Probably the most notable instance of this happening is a game where I was expecting Unfunny, the guy I was working with, to gain the usual 10 points, which had been consistently observed up until that point. But instead he ended up getting a total of 14. And I tried to look back on the footage to see if anything notable could have caused this to happen, like a tie or something. but the game looks, at least from my observation, as to be no different than any other, so I was just kind of left confused as to why this was happening. So, with no direct cause of this outlier being observed, this has led me to come up with a few theories as to why this could have possibly happened. Theory 1. Some kind of third factor is affecting the score. This could be kills, winning streak, your opponent's score, and the like. I don't really think this one is too plausible, as the aforementioned formula found on the Steam forums is accurate about 9 times out of 10, with it even being accurate to my score, further backing up the formula and its accuracy. Theory 2. Game broke. This could be some kind of glitch within the game itself, causing either some of the rounds, or what lines up more numerically, winning the game itself to count twice, as Unfunny gained 14 points instead of the usual 10. It could be possible that the game counted the win twice, giving him 8 points instead of 4. Third and final theory is that the leaderboards just didn't update properly. Now, this could have happened either by the leaderboard actually not counting for Unfunny's score until that point, but I really find this to be unlikely, as much as the first theory, as that would contradict literally all of the previous math done, including all of the formulas. Unless these 4 points just happened at some point before the experiment began, which leads into all kinds of convoluted questions on why the points just randomly factored in, so yeah. I'm just gonna leave this one on the same tier as number 1. So yeah, while the game's plus round formula is generally accurate, and I think it's what the devs intended, beware some wacky things can happen within the score counter sometimes, but my best guess towards what happened is definitely theory 2, but make of it what you will. So now that we've covered the math of it all, and any unexplainable circumstances that I've come across, I think I'm just going to end this video here. Thanks to both Unfunny Boy and the guy who wrote down the formula on the Steam forums. They helped out a bunch in the creation of this video and helped me figure out something that I just kind of wanted to know. So thanks to them. The score system in Straftat, while it's not really important, is certainly an interesting feature that I hope gets elaborated on in the future while still maintaining the game's casualness. But if you learned something new about Straftat like I did, I hope you're satisfied. Maybe even satisfied enough to like the video? Who knows? But that's it for today, so see you later, and join the Discord below.